my friend Kevin Young, CEO and co-founder of Audécious. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you, Nathan. And thanks for making the trip over.
Happy to be here. This is one of my favorite places in British Columbia, and I know it better from the summertime when I come up here on my bike. But I think that this is more your domain with the snow, and it's a great opportunity to come up here and talk to you about this company.
Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, it's one of the most, we're really privileged to be here, right? Whether it's the summer with you and your cycling friends, and whether it's in the winter now with my son and everyone who loves to engage in the mountain sports, right? Audécious started here. It started here in Whistler. It started during Après, kind of like where we're now. My friends and I, we started, drinking together, and an idea kind of got hatched. And the idea turned into the mission that you see today, which is to offer the world's best organic and sustainable alcoholic beverages in an effort to switch people to a much more clean, less harmful world.
Yeah.
And I'll explain more about that.
You've had a very robust career over the last few decades, spanning from your finance to philanthropy, now sustainability. What's the common thread between all of these that's kind of been identified over the years?
I mean, I consider more of an eclectic career. I do what I find purposeful. So whether it was getting an early foundation in finance to tackling problems that I saw, that it essentially got me into helping. So I don't really look at it as philanthropy per se, but rather just engaging, taking action on things that I believed deserved my attention.
Yeah. What do you think was the point where you got inspired to leave the conventional path to more purpose-driven types of ventures?
And both are quite fluid. And again, if there is a cause, right, an endeavor, like an initiative that I found interesting, something that I truly thought, okay, this deserves a place in the world. I tend to want to champion it. And it doesn't mean that I leave one for the other, Nathan. It's more that I look at, okay, I want to commit time I want to commit my time and energy into pursuing, this endeavor.
So you've had a pretty interesting past of where you've lived and where you've worked. Can you tell us a little bit about sort of the backstory of like where you were when you were growing up and where you spent most of your career to how you kind of ended up back here in Whistler?
Sure. So I was born in Canada, but I was also raised partly in Hong Kong and partly in Hershey, Pennsylvania. I continued schooling in the States. I started working there until I got transferred out to Asia. And from there, I lived in Asia for quite some time before making the choice with my wife to move here. And we did this because you just look around, right? This is a place that would offer our son, because we have a son, and would offer him the best, childhood possible.
So talk to me a little bit about your earlier experiences in just giving back.
Your early experiences were with UNICEF.
So tell me about your time working at UNICEF. What was your role?
Sure. My role, I started, on the committee, and then I later on served as the chair for special fundraising, which allowed me to, kind of think of creative ideas with our team on how we could get more organizations involved with UNICEF's mission.
Yeah. And you started the other organization, Feeding Hong Kong. Was that before or after UNICEF?
It was after UNICEF. It was after UNICEF upon the realization that, Hong Kong, despite, being a really amazing city, that there was tremendous poverty, right? There were a lot of hungry mouths, a lot of people that, were kind of, hidden or kind of underserved. And this included the elderly. This included new immigrant families and their kids.
So how would you sum up the mission of like Feeding Hong Kong for someone who doesn't know about it?
Feeding Hong Kong's mission was to rescue as much food as humanly possible from organizations from grocery stores to restaurants and reappropriate that food to, help feed, the tens of thousands of families that we serve.
So Kevin, tell me about your time at UNICEF. Do you have any memorable projects you want to mention?
Mm-hmm. I do. So it was an honor. It was a privilege to serve UNICEF. And if I look back, I think my most memorable project was Empowering the Future. And that was working with Porsche to effectively send out SUVs. So let's just kind of take this back. In 2008, China experienced the worst earthquake in modern history. And it really decimated much of Sichuan. UNICEF, as you know, our mission is to protect the well-being of children and women. And what we realized is, so many schools, thousands of schools were leveled, right? They were leveled. So what we wanted to do was ensure that the kids could still, can still learn, right? Who could still go on with their daily lives as best as possible, despite all the destruction. So we came up with this idea, and it was pretty, honestly, it was pretty audacious at the time, which was send a fleet of essentially fortified SUVs. At the time, it was the newly launched Cayenne, to serve as essentially mobile schools in these isolated areas. These Cayennes would go through earthquake-torn roads, access these schools, bring teachers to them, bring equipment, right? And yeah, that was probably my favorite mission of all.
What was the generation of the Porsche Cayennes that were used during your time?
So the ones that we sent to China were the 957 generations. So those were made between 2008 to 2010.
And how many were in the fleet back then?
Initially, we started off with 4. And then what happened was we realized that there was just a lot more ground to cover. And Porsche generously donated an additional 2. Plus, they also funded the mission. They funded it with 10 million RMB for us to run that. So that was really meaningful.
Incredible project. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was very grateful for their support. I was really blown away by how creative they were at solving that problem at the time.
So who inspired you the most, Kevin?
I've been fortunate to have many great mentors. But if I were to single out one person who really inspired me to make an impact on this world, I would tell you it's my aunt. It was my aunt, Auntie Barbara. And so when I was growing up, I lived, part of my life in Hershey, where I was raised by my uncle and aunt. And it was fantastic. Like, I loved every moment I had in Hershey. But my aunt really inspired me because she was a pediatric oncologist. So she treats cancer for kids. And she was a Harvard-trained pediatric oncologist. And I would argue probably one of the world's best, right? A top gun. And despite her, immense talent, her capabilities, she could have easily gone to work in the private practice, right? And made a lot more money for herself. But she didn't. She chose to teach. She chose to teach at the Milton Hershey Medical Center, which is a state school. It's Penn State's medical center. And her goal was to pass on, share her knowledge, right? Motivate, inspire the next generation of doctors. And if you consider her years of service, the decades, how many doctors, how many, frontline healthcare workers she inspired, motivate, taught, it's tremendous. Wow. Like that for me is the wow moment, because she made a choice, Nathan. She made a choice to take her talents to serve, and not just go into, not commercialize it.
How do you think you were able to apply that into your work after that?
I mean, I don't apply it every day to my work. Okay. But I do think of ways, for me to engage, to help causes, really.
You were just recently here up in Whistler for the Invictus Games. It was
Yes.
very exciting. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, it's actually a bit the other way around, Nathan. The Invictus Games recently came to Whistler.
Yes.
And we were, just watching the athletes and their families, how happy they were, around the village. The joy that the raw joy that they had, competing on the mountain. There's so many athletes who told us that this is the first time they've seen snow in ages. This is the first time they've skied, but they're competing, right? This is the first time that they've had these experiences, but they're together, right? And you see these incredibly brave, truly, truly, truly inspiring human beings, some with visible wounds. Like you see, Whistler had, never had this many wheelchairs, around. But these people saying, you know what, this is a disability, this is the obvious part, but my spirit is stronger than this. Now, that's really what Invictus was. And we were so lucky. My son, myself, like so many of us here, we're so fortunate to be able to see that, that spirit.
For anyone who isn't too familiar, can you explain a little bit about what the Invictus Games is and how that originated?
Well, yes. I mean, to the best of my knowledge, right? So the Invictus Games started 10 years ago by Prince Harry, and his foundation. People that have been with him. So, for example, Lord Charles Allen of Kensington, Dominic Reed, people that have made it their mission, their goal, to allow veterans, our patriots, not just from our individual country, like in his case, Great Britain, but from around the world, find a community where they feel respected, where they feel valued, where they can compete. They can compete in sports, and experience that uplifting experience that only sports can provide, and the camaraderie of having everyone in a location somewhere around the world. It is like, I really salute that organization.
Absolutely love the work that they've been doing. So how did Audécious start?
It started off as an idea. It was an idea that was born here. It was born here in Whistler. It was born incidentally during our praise, where my friends Mikhail, Louis, and Aaron got together after a day on the mountain. So Rob is making these exceptional cocktails, like, all night long, and it's fantastic. And while Rob is making this, it dawned on us that you can't actually have barmaid quality cocktails, to go. Like it doesn't exist, right? To like an RTD, and then one thing led to another. Louis, who's a friend of yours as well, somehow planted the seed in us to say, hey, we should make this thing organic.
Why did you pursue organic?
We pursued organic because, as I mentioned, Louis tabled it. Like, to be honest, there really wasn't many choices, if not any really amazing choices. And we took it upon ourselves to see if we could challenge, the status quo. We took it upon ourselves to challenge ourselves to see if we could create the world's best sustainable spirits.
Mm-hmm. So organic is not something that is easy to get the title of. Not easy to manufacture.
No.
What's the significance of it being organic?
It allows people to make a choice. And it allows people to make a choice from traditional alcoholic beverages that are made with crops that were grown using pesticides. So our fight is against pesticides. It's to offer that option, per se.
I've read that there are some stark numbers on the number of deaths linked to pesticides each year. So how do you see what you're doing as being able to impact those numbers?
It's a good question, and it's not just the death that we're combating; it's the overall harm pesticides do to human beings, to humanity. Um, the harm pesticides do to the wildlife. I serve the UN, specifically UNICEF, as well as the World Food Program, and the UN has published a report with very stark numbers, and the number is 385 million. Wow. So this is the number of cases of people every year that have experienced acute unintentional pesticide poisoning around the world. And what the harm that it does, the cancers, as I mentioned, my aunt was a pediatric oncologist. I have at least a basic understanding of how painful, how terrible cancer is. It causes lung cancer, right? It causes skin cancer, right? It causes leukemia. It causes brain tumors. Mm-hmm. And that's another topic I know reasonably well because my best friend is a neurosurgeon. He's the chair of neurosurgery. It's not just to the farmers, Nathan. It's to their families. It's to their communities, their kids. So, yeah, I'm a father. Yeah. I have a kid. And anyone who has children will be able to tell you that, kids, as they grow up, they're shorter. So they're lower to the ground. They breathe twice as much oxygen as an adult. Yeah. And they're still forming. So they're still developing, right? So they're more likely to have neurological disorders. Yeah. They're more likely to kind of experience these things more aggressively. And yeah, it's unacceptable, especially when you consider that as much as I love cocktails, as much as I love vapeurs, I can't ignore the fact that the true cost of drinking traditional alcoholic beverages made with crops that are grown with pesticides is too high. Right. It's too high, as I mentioned, for humanity. It's too high for the wildlife, for the animals, the fish. It's too high for the environment. Pesticides are becoming increasingly powerful, right? And as they, kill off, pollinators, like the bees, the land pretty much is dead. Yeah. So this problem is amplified over time.
Why do you think alcohol has the potential to succeed in fighting this mission?
I believe that Audécious has the potential to succeed at inspiring and hopefully influence people to make a switch. I don't know the whole industry as everyone as a whole, but I could tell you from our perspective, we're hopeful. We're hopeful that when people experience our products, they say, wow, it's delicious and it's also organic, it's also sustainable, and you guys are on a mission. You want to support it. But everything has to be consistent, the level of excellence. So, for example, it's disingenuous to believe that just by being organic, people will switch. People don't do that. People drink beverages that are delicious, that are satisfying. So we had to really challenge ourselves to, create the world's best or the world beating spirits for this to be possible. We had to, you've seen our bottle, right? So we had to, thanks. And I know my partner, Mikhail, will be delighted, but this bottle was inspired by Whistler. So
tell us a little bit more about this design. This is a truly unique design. How did you come up with this?
Well, I didn't, but Mikhail did. And it's a real triumph because, well, a few things. First is how beautiful it presents, but it was inspired by the 210 Olympic torch. And that was a torch that, ran through Vancouver and into Whistler, right? The 210 Winter Olympics. So there's a nod to that. And you see the lines, these are not to Whistler itself. It's a topography. It was inspired by the topography of Whistler.
What was the thought process with working and showcasing this as primarily something that is in the athletic and sports community more so than anything else, more so than other spirit brands?
I don't want to speak of other spirit brands, but Audacious has a really simple mission and a very simple purpose. We serve people. We salute authentic people. We celebrate achievements, accomplishments. We want to be there when people celebrate, right? Real people. So that's why we don't have celebrity endorsements. We're grateful if celebrities love it, of course, but that's not what we seek. What we seek are people who like the people who inspire me, those from the Invictus Games.
Yeah. It looks like you have aligned yourself with all the right people to stay on the right mission. I noticed you have a really strong list of supporters, including Richard Neal. How did that come about?
Yeah. Well, Richard has been my friend. I've been grateful for his friendship for almost 2 decades. So when Richard first started his company, we were friends. And Richard is someone who cares deeply about the world, about the environment. You all know about his watches, right? His exquisite timepieces, right? He's a genius. But few people know that Richard has a vineyard in the south of France. And when he bought the vineyard, he turned it all organic. And we share the same commitment, whether in his case it's for wines, and in our case for spirits. We echo that commitment to the world.
Yeah, and some of the other supporters that you have, I've seen include the Four Seasons. That it looks like has taken you out to the global market.
Yep, the Four Seasons. I mean, I'm biased here. My son Bear and I, we've been friends with the folks here in the Four Seasons Whistler for almost 5 years. So since he's been racing for Whistler, we've been friends with them. And that's really where Audécious was born, actually at the Four Seasons Whistler. And I don't know if you know this, but the Four Seasons has a golden rule. It's a creed, it's a promise that each individual who works for the Four Seasons upholds, and that is to treat others as you wish to be treated yourself.
Yeah.
And to be a good steward for the environment and the world that we share. So we are perfectly aligned with Four Seasons' mission. And in many ways, we share their same sentiment. At Audacious, we're proud that we treat everyone that we work with respect. We are genuinely appreciative of the time that they spend on us to understand our mission. We are grateful for every single person who tries our spirits, and is open-minded for change. And of course, we're truly, truly thankful for all the organizations, all the bars, all the world's best restaurants that have embraced us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've had a really unique strategy to building out the brand and the brand awareness for Audacious. I've seen you've been traveling the world to work with different bartenders. Can you describe your marketing approach and how that sort of shaped up? Because it seems like you've built a very strong following for the brand before people actually have the access to it, the wider market.
Okay, so let's really think about this. Wasn't really for marketing purposes, but it was rather testing purposes. So for our mission, Nathan, to succeed, we had to be certain that our products were world class, could not only compete with, but better the best, to be the world's best. And we can have all our opinions, all day long on our friends, but the true test is when you bring it out to the world and let, the most experienced, the most talented, bar teams, restaurants try it. And that's what we did. We shared Audacious with the world. we tried Audacious spirits, and not just the vodka, but the other products that we have that are up and coming. In cocktails, hundreds. Possibly, if you include like my team, probably 1,000.
Wow.
Cocktails to see how it works, how it performs, how it tastes, and that's how we get the support from so many people, because it's like a Pepsi challenge. They try us, I'm like, wow, and it gives us a lot of encouragement.
What impact do you want to leave behind?
I want to leave the world in a better place than I found it. It's really that simple.
Thanks, Kevin.
Welcome, Nathan.
At Four Seasons Whistler, we truly believe in making meaningful connections. The golden rule, treat the others as we wish to be treated, truly guides everything we do, including healthier and more sustainable choices. By making those choices today, we will really shape dining, hospitality, and overall life for everyone.
With that being said, I'm very thankful to have known Kevin and his son Bear over the years, to watch him ski in the mountains of Whistler. As a father myself, I'm very thankful to have endured into this mission to make this place a better place for the future, to giving people a healthier and more sustainable choice.
There.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. We're at the Longhorn today.
We are.
And we're here to talk about a very special drink that's arrived, Audacious Apres.
Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it?
Yes. Tell me about your experience working with Audacious so far.
Well, I mean, I think it all rolls into Apres. I mean, Whistler is world renowned for its Apres culture, and it's about celebrating the day on the slopes and extending it a little bit with friends, having really great drinks and listening to great music. And, you know, a premium product like Audacious really fits in with everything that we're all about. I mean, anyone that we partner with, we're intentional with. Here at Gibbons, we have really been part of the Apres scene for 40 years. And we certainly see it as not just running venues, but creating experiences and animating the village. And Audacious fits in really well with that, from the way the bottle looks to the drinks we can make from it and how it fits in with all of our core values.
So maybe you could tell me a little bit about what brought you here to Whistler.
Sure. I came here 18 years ago on a work visa from Australia. I hadn't seen snow before, and so I was really interested in coming here for a ski season. And I walked straight into hospitality. I was serving and managing and doing all of the jobs in the industry. And I ended up meeting a Canadian guy. It's very cliche. And so has worked out that I've settled just down the road in Brackendale in Squamish, and I have got 2 little boys. And I can't, at this industry, it's we've become more of a tourism company with, for sure, hospitality at our roots, but now that we've branched into accommodation as well as into our own products, as well as a spa and outdoor adventure, we see ourselves as a tourism company, and tourism brings people together. It's all about connection, and our core purpose is making people happy. So why leave something so beautiful?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's definitely some joy and fulfillment in being able to connect people, bring people together in the community. And I think that you've done a really, really good job here with the Gibbons Group, and especially with Longhorn being like the premier storefront to the beautiful Whistler Blackcomb Mountain.
Yeah, it's quintessential Whistler.
Yeah, exactly. There's no better place to be doing this.
Yeah.
Can you describe your role here?
Yeah, sure. My role is Chief Integrative Officer. So I work for Joey Gibbons, the owner, and he is a true visionary, and he's brought us to where we are today. And my role is taking his vision and trying to break it down into small pieces so that we can get closer and closer to it every day.
Why do you think it's important to support some local brands like Audacious?
Well, I mean, it's important to align with our values, but also when we're delivering a premium experience, as I mentioned, we need a premium product to go with it. And it's not just about the drink being premium, but the purpose behind the drink being premium. And so we're really intentional with who we partner with, because I think it's an expectation of our guests is, you know, sustainability and responsibility isn't just a trend, it's an expectation. And so we want to deliver that along with the Apres experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. How do you think that, now that you're speaking about sustainability, how do you think that Audacious aligns with that mission for you?
Well, I mean, we want to be around to deliver this same experience to future generations so that our kids, the founder of Audacious, Kevin, his his son, Bear, he skis with the Gibbons family. He's grown up here skiing, and I have children, and I think that part of our culture is preserving this. Whistler's built on nature, so we need to preserve it for future generations, and having that responsibility around what we're serving to our guests is so important.
How has the feedback been so far?
Excellent.
How's it been received?
Amazing. It's one of the best vodkas that any of us have tasted. It's super smooth, and we've had amazing feedback. No complaints, that's for sure. Only really, really 5-star.